My name is Sara Koppel. I'm born in Copenhagen, Denmark, and I still live here, have a studio here, and I'm an animation artist. My way into animation was really like a kind of coincidence in some way. When you are an older school student, you have to visit some workplaces to see if you want to become a doctor or auto mechanic or something. And I wanted to go to a place where they printed big posters in the old school analog way. But at the time being, I also was very much a hardcore punker, and I live occupied in houses, so I was very dirty. I came to the place 7 o'clock in the morning, and when they saw me, they didn't want me because they felt I would scare the customers. So when I came out, I was super sad. I called my dad, and I remembered something that he said, that he should work with an animation studio to make music for their film. So I phoned him in the morning. Could you help me? Could I go to them? And then they took me instantly in this 1 week internship kind of thing. And I just fell so much in love with the craft. The first minute I went in, and I just saw all the stack of paper. They were sitting drawing, they were sitting, some sat and colored. I was just like, wow, can this be done? And how do they do it? And I just wanted to learn. I heard that somebody was starting up the Valhalla film, and then I got a job in the color department right away. So, and then I was in the Valhalla color department for 6 months. After that, I heard that Jannik Hastrup was starting up a new feature film called Strid og Stumme, and I called him and asked if he could use like a trainee person in some way. Yeah, and he said, come by the studio, and I took a kind of portfolio to the studio, and I met Jannik Hastrup, and I said, you want to see that I can draw? You know, he just asked me some questions, and then he said, you can start. Then I was with Jannik Hastrup for 7 years. Yeah, and it was amazing. In a way, I'm autodidact. I don't have an education for any places, but I learned being in the industry. I learned by having some really good teachers, like Anders Sørensen, Per Tønnes Nielsen, Jannik Hastrup, all the guys at A-Film, where I went later on. So, you know, I learned from people in the business. I think it's like really fantastic that time that you could actually just go into a studio, say, I just want to learn it. Is it possible for you to take me in? And then somebody said yes. When I met the craft, I just wanted to learn it. And then I just was super much like a really hardworking person. I just really like super energetic, love to work. And when I came from Jannik, which made film in one way, I wanted to go to A-Film because they did film in another way, and I wanted to learn that kind, a little more Disney-like animation and stuff like that. Together with another animator, we started to talking about making our own place, our own small studio, to make art, to make things for the industry, to see what could we actually do. And then we just stopped both at A-Film and made our own studio one day from another. And then we started the studio out with getting, you know, sequences from other feature films, making commercials, making music videos, and then trying to start the whole, getting into the system, applying the Film Institute for money for making short films, you know, all that things. And we run that place together for some years, but then we split up at some point because I definitely wanted to go more artistic and not commercialized at all. And then I made my decision. This is my life. I want to do my animation art no matter what. I don't care about what life people think you should live. I'm really into it for the my love for the craft and for making small revolutions. I moved from my parents when I was 12, living on the street in occupied houses as a punk. I always had this very political and very social look at how we live in society. I'm not in it for the entertainment. I'm in it for the small revolutionary part I can do with my art. And at some point I just realized now it's the time, because I'm not getting younger, and I don't know why I felt like I suddenly could stop making money, but this has been the hardest struggle for me, and still is, the money situation. I mean, of course you have to make money in the world we live in. This is just like something you need to do, but there's a lot of ways to choose how to live. And I definitely chose to live a life where money is not a goal in itself. It doesn't fascinate me. I'm not into gadgets. I don't have a driver license. Actually, I didn't travel much in my life before I start traveling a bit with my art. In some way, it's a socialistic, political choice to live like that, you know. And I think the most important for me is, like, I want to contribute to making conversation about how we live. And the way I can contribute to those conversations is with my art. And of course, I had periods where I worked 6 years every weekend as a barista to make, I mean, the least amount of money that I could live from. And this has something to do with that in Denmark it's quite hard, maybe impossible, it has been for me, to raise ordinary money from film institute or other kind of like more, state-builded money for my kind of animation art. So this is why at some point I was just like, I don't want to apply for it anymore, because the applying system is also something I have a strong opinion about. So now I'm trying to get into it a little bit, maybe applying again for something, but I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure. Money for art is not big, of course, because there has to be money for a lot of other things. But when I started to making my animation art, which is only for the adult audience, it's not for children at all, there was still like this, can animation be something else than for children? I mean, people had a lot of questions about it. And I think still they feel like the money in animation is when it's for children. It's not when it's for grown-up. It's a niche, but it's an important artistic niche. So I think, of course, I think there should be more money for it. And also I work very different than most people in the industry. And of course it can have something to do with that I'm autodidact. So I have my own way of working. I don't write a full script. I write something that is maybe more poetic. I don't make a storyboard through the beginning of the film to the end of the film. I don't make an animatic, so the film is not edited. I want it to be a creative process all the way for me, a more intuitively process. So of course I make some storyboard drawings and some conceptual drawings, or what you call it, and I know what I want, but I also want to be open for myself. How do I get there? Because the process and all the year I work on a film is life. So it has to be very interesting and very funny and very wonderful to do. I love to have a more free way of working, and the institute doesn't like that, I think. You have to be, they start doubting, can she do it, you know, why, what's her purpose, we don't know how it ends, how can she, you know, this is not into the, it doesn't fit the system. The topics that I'm dealing with is things that's on my mind and interest me, and I feel is important to talk about through art. And because animation is my art craft, then the things is combined. I see myself kind of like a poet, and if writing was my craft, I think I would be a classic poet writing poetry. What I use in my art, I think what I hope comes out to people, this is anyway what I feel I put into it, is a lot of sensibility and poetry in maybe difficult subjects. And I feel because it's animation and it's drawn, you can walk quite far with what you do. And I know, for instance, with the film I did many years ago, Little Vulva and Her Clitoral Awareness, it's actually more than 10 years ago I did that film. It's about this little girl going out into nature, discovering her own sexuality. And I think this is a film you couldn't do unless it was animated. And this is of course because suddenly there is this vulvas and they are transforming into flowers, and some people, when I was doing the film, were like nervous about what this film, how it would come out and what was actually in it, and how I dared doing it. I think I was a little pioneer in the field of making an erotic animation film in terms of how I did it. Because of the poetry and the sensibility, you don't get afraid to see this little girl going out in nature and then you see her vulva. You are moving with it in a poetic way. This is anyway what I wanted to try to do. I still like to do erotic pieces, and I do a lot of sensual erotic things when I make my augmented reality poetry, which I think it is. For instance, my last film, Second Day and the End of the World, it's not really an erotic film. It's a film about processes of detachment. It's a film about feeling powerless in society. It's a film about climate catastrophe and the situation of feeling powerless in the society and how to deal with it. And it's also a film about responsibility. So it's, of course, there's a little bit nudity in it, but I don't see it erotic at all. It's much more about life, another part of life than the erotic life. And the next film I want to do, I think, will be maybe extremely erotic, but extremely much about climate catastrophe. Yeah, eroticism is important, and I think body language is important. I think it's important to feel your body and maybe go a little out of the head. I think human is a very strange animal, and they are so much into the sculpt and developing and thinking and overthinking, and they forgot totally this beautiful thing. Sitting down, working, making our life as less body is as we can, instead of that we use our body in our regular life. And that is also something, has also something to do with eroticism, I think, because the way we choose to live our life has moved us so much away from feeling our body or being our body as much as the part of our brain or our brain. So we also maybe moved a little bit away from our eroticism feelings, and I think it's very much connected. I think it's good for life to watch erotic animation because it's filled with sensuality, it's filled with poetry, it makes you drift out in something where you maybe actually, hopefully, start feeling your body a little bit. And when I did the Naked Love Eos Garden, I just want to do a little adventure about lust totally without any shameful thoughts or feelings, just, very positive, very wonderful, very sincere. And my hope with that was just to, if the audience just in a little bit could sense something in their own body, that would be beautiful, I think. For many people, it's maybe embarrassing to talk about eroticism and sexuality, and I know there is this like a lot of taboo in all these things. I think there's still a lot of taboo about elder people and sexuality, and I'm always like into maybe trying to confront the taboos in matters which I feel is something that is part of life, so big that it should be something everybody embrace. And for helping people to embrace it, you can make small art pieces and hope people see it and hope that it has a minimal effect on something. Sexuality has been something that should be talked about, and still. And it's changing a lot. And also because our society changed, and then now we have the internet, and that again changed it a lot. And it's just to try to keep a balance in how we talk about it. I think the art is important. All my animation, all my drawing, all my background, everything I do with a pencil on paper. And then I scan all my drawings to the computer one by one. I don't have a manual. I'm like doing this, but I love doing this even if it's 9,000 drawings, because I feel like this is a choice of life again. So every time I'm like putting one drawing in, I move my body around and am in contact with my work and my body, and not just my head and my arm. So I think all the process is very important. But then I scan my drawings in, and then I color all my drawings in Photoshop, which is really like crazy because it's not an animation program. But this is what happened to me because it wasn't that expensive, and I learned it, and I made my color craft in there, and then of course I end up editing my film in Premiere. So I use the digital. I'm not against computer and against that kind of things. I just simply love very much making my animation and my drawing on a paper with a pen. And it's also something that there's also a little choice inside of it, because I can do it everywhere. I don't have to have cable. I don't have to have electricity. I don't have to have a lot of gadget. I can have a block of paper and my pencil, a sharpener, and that's it. I can sit on the floor, I can sit at the table, I can sit everywhere. And I feel there's a freedom in doing your beloved craft, your art, without having electricity used all the time. I know it sounds crazy, it's very little, but it makes sense to me. I think the people who really approach me directly, more or less always has wonderful response. The good thing is the people who doesn't like them, they don't want to talk to me. But of course I can see that, and I know that the film I do and the way I do them, it keeps some people from not showing them, of course. And I mean, my new film, The Second Day and the End of the World, is on a big festival tour, and a lot of festivals shows them, but the festival who shows them has a lot in common. They are all like underground festival, political approach. They are in it's special festivals with a special look at art. I like that all the festival who takes my film, this is festival I would love to be a part of. In some way it go hands in hand. Even if I have some dreams about Annecy or some of the very big animation festivals to take my films, maybe you always hope for that, but I always know that it's not the festival who takes it. I became a punk when I was 12, and it was in my heart, and it was something I just could not be. And even if I don't look like a punk anymore, and I also shower from time to time now and wash my clothes, then I'm still a punk rock inside, and it has never left me, actually. It hasn't. I do my art also very DIY. Like I do everything, my last film, I do everything myself except music. I even started making my own sound recordings. And this is of course a combination of not having funding, so I cannot pay people for being on my film. So I have to do all the thing I can do myself. And the thing I cannot do is the music. But luckily, my partner is a film composer, and he likes my work so much, and me, so I can make him do my music for free. And then I use my daughter, who is a singer. I used her as a female vocalist on my films since she was 14. She started, when she was 14, she was the female vocalist on my first erotic film. So, you know, and my latest film is my 3-year-old granddaughter is one of the voices, and yeah, so I'm just using what I can around me, and I'm doing all the things I can do myself, and this is DIY. And this is also a part of the punk revolution, so in that way, it's still the same. If you're a young person and you want to like be it in the animation for the art and for your art, and I think I just could give a kind of advice that just do it and do it yourself, and look yourself in the eye, and you know, what kind of life do I want to live? Because you're not getting rich on your art, but you get a rich life through your art.